The $2 powder. That is what this is about. $2. And it has washed every dish in this house for the last 4 years without a single drop of dish soap. My grandmother kept a yellow box on the edge of her kitchen sink from the time she moved into that house in 1967 until the day she left it in 2011. 44 years. The same powder. The same box, restocked maybe twice a year from the hardware aisle. She raised 5 children in that kitchen, fed farmhands on canning days, scrubbed cast iron after Sunday roasts, and never once reached under the sink for a plastic bottle of blue liquid. She used to say the soap companies had pulled off the quietest con in American history, convinced an entire country to buy something it did not need at 10 times the price of what already worked. She was not the type to say things like that lightly. I did not believe her until I ran the numbers myself. A bottle of dish soap in this house used to last about 3 weeks, sometimes less if the kids had been cooking. That is roughly 17 bottles a year. At $4 and change per bottle, I was spending close to $70 a year just to wash dishes. That is before the sponges that fell apart, the scrubbing pads, the rinse aids, the hand cream I needed after my skin dried out from the detergent. Add it all up, and the real number was sitting above $450 every single year. $450 to wash dishes. The $2 powder does not care about any of that. It cuts grease. It does not crack skin. It does not leave a film. And a single box lasts longer in this house than I ever thought possible. If you are watching this and your hands look like sandpaper by Wednesday every week, stay with me, because what I am about to show you is not a trend and it is not a hack. It is the way dishes got clean in this country for generations before the soap companies figured out. There was more money in selling you a new bottle every 3 weeks than in telling you the truth about what actually works. If you have been here before, you already know I do not recommend things I have not used myself for years. Hit the subscribe button and turn on the notification bell so you do not miss what is coming. Because next week, we are getting into the $1 pantry staple that replaces every surface cleaner in the house. But right now, we are talking about dishes. Here is what nobody in the cleaning aisle will ever put on a label. Grease is not a mystery, it is chemistry. And the chemistry that breaks down grease on a dinner plate is the same chemistry it has always been, long before the bottle under your sink existed. What you need is something that changes the pH of the water, something that loosens the bond between oil and surface, and something mild enough not to strip the skin off your hands in the process. The soap companies want you to believe that takes a proprietary formula in a colorful bottle, with a fresh scent and a new improved version every 18 months. It does not. It takes a powder that costs $2 and has been sitting in hardware stores since before most of us were born. The powder is washing soda, sodium carbonate, not baking soda, which is sodium bicarbonate and works differently. Washing soda. The box is plain. The price is insulting to everything the cleaning industry has built. And it works on dishes, on pots, on the film that builds up inside glasses over time, in a way that I did not fully understand until I stopped using soap entirely and watched what happened. The first time I filled the sink with hot water and a tablespoon of washing soda instead of dish soap, I stood there for a moment genuinely not sure it was doing anything. There were no suds, no lemon scent, no blue color spreading through the water. Just hot water with a white powder dissolved in it, looking exactly like hot water. And then I put a greasy pan in and started wiping, and the grease came off cleanly. The way it does when you use good soap on a good day, except my hands did not feel tight afterward, and I had not reached for anything under the sink. My grandmother could have told me exactly why that worked. She knew the chemistry the way women of that generation knew most things. Not from a textbook, but from decades of watching what happened when you did it wrong versus right. Washing soda is alkaline. Hot water is the delivery system. Grease is an acid. When a strong enough alkaline solution meets grease in hot water, the grease does not need to be scrubbed off. It releases, the technical word is saponification, which is also the process that makes soap in the first place. Washing soda essentially does the first step of that process right there in your sink without the middleman. She learned this from her own mother, who had learned it during a stretch of years in the late 1930s, when nothing was wasted and everything had to be justified by results. There was no room in that household for something that did not work. The box of washing soda stayed on the sink because it earned its place every single day. Now here is the part the dish soap aisle will never mention. Conventional dish soap does clean grease. I am not going to pretend otherwise, but it does something else at the same time. It strips the natural oils from the surface of your skin along with the grease from the plate because it cannot tell the difference. The surfactants in commercial dish soap are not selective. They break down oil on contact, full stop, and your hands are covered in oil. This is why the hand cream industry and the dish soap industry have quietly thrived together for decades. One dries you out, the other sells you the repair. Washing soda does not do this. It is alkaline, not a surfactant. It changes what the water can do without attacking everything it touches. After 2 weeks of washing with washing soda, I stopped keeping hand cream next to the sink. That was 4 years ago. The method matters, and it is simpler than anything you are currently doing. Fill your sink with the hottest water your tap produces. Add 1 tablespoon of washing soda per full sink. That is it. No measuring cup, no precision required. 1 tablespoon dissolves fast in hot water. You will not see suds, and that is correct. Suds are not cleaning, suds are marketing. The cleaning industry spent decades convincing consumers that lather equals power because a bubbling sink looks like something is happening. What is actually happening in your washing soda sink is quieter and more effective. And the absence of foam is not a flaw. It is confirmation that you are not paying for a performance. Wash your dishes in order, the way every sensible kitchen has always done it. Glasses first while the water is cleanest, plates and bowls next, pots and pans last. If a pan has stuck food, let it soak for 5 minutes in the washing soda water. 5 minutes is usually enough. 10 is always enough. In 4 years of using nothing else, I have not once needed to scrub something I soaked first. Not once. The alkaline water does the work the scrubbing pad used to do, and it does it without scratching non-stick surfaces or dulling the finish on good pots. If you have been watching for a while and you have tried something I recommended that genuinely changed how you run your kitchen, I would love for you to leave a like on this video. It helps more than most people realize. And it tells me to keep going with this kind of content. Now let me tell you about the things that surprised me, because some of them I did not expect at all. The first surprise was the glasses. We had a set of everyday drinking glasses that had developed a cloudy film over about 2 years of regular dish soap washing. I had assumed it was hard water buildup, and I had tried white vinegar soaks, which helped a little, and I had tried the rinse aid in the dishwasher, which helped a little more. Neither fixed it completely. After 3 weeks of washing those same glasses in washing soda water, the film was gone. Not reduced, gone. The glasses looked the way they had looked when they were new. What happened is that a significant portion of that cloudiness was soap residue, not mineral deposit. Commercial dish soap leaves a thin film on glass surfaces, particularly when the rinse water is not hot enough to fully remove it. This film builds up over hundreds of washes and scatters light, which is what makes glass look cloudy. Washing soda leaves no residue because it is fully soluble and rinses completely clean in water. No residue means no buildup. Over time, the alkaline wash was also gently dissolving the old soap residue that had accumulated over years. The glasses did not need replacing. They needed the soap to stop. The second surprise was cast iron. I have a cast iron skillet that was my grandmother's, passed down with the explicit instruction never to use soap on it. Cast iron carries its seasoning, which is a layer of polymerized oil baked into the surface, and soap strips that seasoning over time. This is well understood among people who cook with cast iron. What I did not know was whether washing soda would do the same thing. I tested it carefully, starting with a light wash and checking the seasoning after drying. Washing soda does not strip cast iron seasoning the way soap does. The alkalinity loosens food particles without attacking the polymerized oil layer. After 4 years of washing my grandmother's skillet this way, the seasoning is intact and the surface is better than it was when I started using it again. The third surprise was the dishwasher. I want to be careful here because this one requires a note. You cannot pour washing soda into a dishwasher the way you add dish soap and expect it to work the same way. Dishwasher detergent and hand washing solutions are different formulations for different mechanical processes. What I found? through trial and error over several months is that washing soda works as a booster inside the dishwasher when combined with a small amount of actual dishwasher detergent. Roughly half the recommended amount of detergent plus a tablespoon of washing soda in the pre-wash cup. The result was cleaner dishes with half the commercial product and a fraction of the cost. I am not telling you to throw out your dishwasher detergent entirely. I am telling you that washing soda stretches it further than the manufacturer wants you to know. The fourth surprise was cost, and this one I did track carefully because I wanted to know the real number. One standard box of washing soda weighs 55 ounces and costs between $2 and $2.50 at most hardware stores and a growing number of grocery stores. 1 tablespoon per sink means roughly 112 tablespoons per box. I wash dishes twice a day in this house. That is approximately 56 days of dishwashing per box. Call it 8 boxes per year at $2.25 each, $18 a year against the $450 I was spending before. The math is not subtle, and the cleaning industry would very much prefer you never ran it. We are at the halfway point, and I want to pause for just a moment. If you have a friend or a family member who is spending a fortune on cleaning supplies and has never heard of any of this, this is the kind of video that is genuinely useful to send someone. Share it, leave a like, and keep watching because I have not yet told you about the things washing soda will not do well, which matters just as much as the things it does perfectly. Nothing works perfectly on everything, and washing soda is no exception. I would rather tell you where it falls short than have you try it on the wrong thing and decide the whole method does not work, because that would be a mistake. Aluminum. Washing soda is too alkaline for bare aluminum pots and pans. It reacts with aluminum and can darken the surface over time. If you cook with aluminum cookware, wash those pieces with a mild soap and use washing soda for everything else. Stainless steel, ceramic, glass, cast iron, and most non-stick surfaces are all fine. Bare aluminum is the exception. Delicate china with gilt or hand-painted decoration. Very high alkalinity can affect certain glazes and metallic details over repeated exposure. My everyday dishes, plain ceramic and stoneware, have shown no change after 4 years. But if you have inherited china with gold rim detail or delicate painted patterns that you are not sure about, hand wash those pieces with something gentler. Those are the 2 real limitations. Everything else I have tested over 4 years has held up without issue. Now, I want to tell you about something my grandmother did that I have started doing again because it extends the system even further and costs almost nothing. She kept a small jar of coarse salt next to the sink, not for cooking, specifically for the sink. When a pot came in with something stuck and burnt to the bottom, she would put a small amount of water in the pot, add a handful of coarse salt, and let it sit on the stove over low heat for a few minutes before washing. The salt acts as a gentle abrasive, and the heat loosens the stuck food without any chemical at all. Then the pot goes into the washing soda water and finishes clean. I have not needed a scrubbing pad with metal bristles since I started doing this. The pots clean without scratching and the surfaces last longer. She also used the washing soda water for the dish rack and the sink itself at the end of washing. Whatever was left in the sink after the dishes were done, she would use to wipe down the sides of the sink and the faucet handles before draining. The alkalinity cuts through the soap scum and hard water film that builds up around a faucet without any additional cleaner. The sink gets cleaned as a byproduct of washing the dishes. That kind of efficiency, using what you already have to do 2 jobs instead of 1, was the way that entire generation thought about a household. Nothing spent once when it could be spent twice. There is one more thing in this system that I did not discover until about a year into using washing soda, and it changed how I think about the whole setup. For dishes that come in heavily greased, a short pre-rinse with cold water before they go into the hot washing soda. Water works better than a pre-rinse with hot water. Hot water partially cooks grease onto a surface and makes the alkaline solution work harder. Cold water removes the loose grease first without setting anything, and then the washing soda in hot water handles the rest. It sounds counterintuitive, but it is the kind of knowledge that only comes from washing a lot of dishes over a long time and paying attention to what makes the difference. My grandmother knew it without ever explaining the chemistry behind it. She just knew cold first, hot after, and the pans came out clean. You are close to the end now, and I want to make sure you are set up to actually try this tomorrow morning, not someday. Here is exactly what you need. 1 box of washing soda found in the laundry aisle or the hardware store, not baking soda. The box will say sodium carbonate or washing soda. 1 tablespoon per full sink of the hottest water your tap produces. Wash in order: glasses, plates, pots. Soak anything stuck for 5 to 10 minutes before washing. Rinse with warm water. That is the complete method. There is nothing else. If you have been on the fence about subscribing, this is the moment. What I put out every week is exactly this. The things that used to be common knowledge before someone figured out they could sell you a branded version of it at 20 times the cost. Subscribe and hit the notification bell so you are there when the next one goes up. I want to tell you something about that yellow box on my grandmother's sink because it matters to me, and I think it might matter to you too. She was not frugal out of deprivation. She was frugal out of principle. There is a difference that the people who sell things have worked very hard to blur, because if you understand the difference, you become a much harder customer to sell to. Deprivation buys the cheapest version of what the store is selling. Principle questions whether the store's version was ever necessary in the first place. My grandmother never felt like she was going without. She felt like she had figured something out that most people had not. And she was right. The yellow box is still in my kitchen. Not the same one, obviously, but the same box, restocked the same way, sitting on the same edge of the sink where it has always lived. When I run the tap and dissolve that tablespoon of white powder into the hot water and the water clears and the grease lets go, I am doing something that connects a chain of women in kitchens across 100 years. All of whom understood that clean is a result, not a brand. $450 a year. That is what the cleaning aisle was charging me for the privilege of not knowing this. That is a car payment, a month of groceries, a bill that had just always been there because no one had ever handed me a yellow box and said, try this first. My grandmother handed me that box, not literally. She handed me the habit, which is more durable than any object. I want to hear from you. If you have a powder or a pantry ingredient that your grandmother or your mother used in the kitchen that you still swear by, tell me in the comments. I read every single one of them. The comments on these videos have become something I genuinely look forward to, because the knowledge in them, the things you all carry from your own kitchens and your own families, belongs to everyone who reads them. That is how it has always traveled. Person to person, kitchen to kitchen. If this video changed the way you think about what is under your sink, leave a like. It takes 1 second, and it is the thing that tells me to keep making content like this instead of something easier. Subscribe if you are not already here, and turn on the notification bell because what is coming next week is just as useful as what you watched today. We are going to talk about the $1 pantry staple that replaces every spray bottle of surface cleaner in the house. And the cleaning companies have been hoping for decades that video never gets made. I will see you then.